Right now at 10, improving safety on Madison Metro buses, what the city is doing to address concerns from drivers after a series of attacks. The search is paused for a missing boater, how conditions on the Wisconsin River are impacting rescue teams, and changing the standard of care for concussions. The new study encouraging impacted children to get back in the classroom sooner. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke. Sarah is off tonight. City staff are looking for ways to make Madison Metro buses safer following a string of physical attacks against drivers. Our Maddie Heimsch has been following the issue for weeks now and has the details of potential new policies and how drivers feel about them.
We've never really been fair enforcers on the bus, but occasionally we would ask our customers, do you have fare?
The issue of fare enforcement on the table tonight as the city's Transportation Commission hears the details of an ordinance brought forth by Metro Transit.
We don't have a program or anything in place right now to actually implement it, so we would have to really look into that, but this ordinance is just setting the framework for it.
The ordinance, just step one of a potential new procedure of gathering bus fare from riders.
So this new section would allow us to just use a supervisor for this.
The ordinance would allow Metro staff the authority to issue citations to riders who don't pay for their ride, as opposed to needing law enforcement to do so.
It doesn't escalate the situation to the same extent that police presence would.
It would also lower the minimum fine from $50 to $5. It's still unclear what the ordinance would look like in practice.
Before this were to get enforced, we would need to have a training for Metro supervisors.
But Metro representatives say the goal is to streamline the process to reduce the risk of conflict between passengers and drivers, like Brian Gartley. Gartley, who was attacked by a rider just over a week ago, says it was that question that led to his eventual concussion.
The attack started with him not having a fare, and he was pretty mad at me asking him for fare to begin with.
Gartley says he has no interest in policing passengers' payments.
It's gotten to a point after the attack that, I don't even feel comfortable asking that question too much anymore. I don't want to have any kind of confrontation at all.
Reporting in Madison, Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
The motion passed 8-1 at the Transportation Commission meeting with the intention of returning to the commission for a further review at a later date. Well, a few rain showers will continue overnight in the Madison region. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington tells us if any flurries will be mixed in, Alex.
There could be a couple of wet snowflakes mixed in with those very few and far between showers across the area as temperatures fall down into the 30s. And I'm going to add to that, too, we got some dense fog, a possibility overnight as well. Let's take a look at radar 3000. Just a couple showers up towards Camp Douglas. Right now, warm enough that that's all in the form of rain. And those showers are actually probably making it to the ground because the showers that we had earlier today really struggled. During my earlier newscast, I was letting folks know why did those showers not materialize today? Look at that, only 1/10 of an inch towards Janesville. We had some really dry air in place, and as that rain fell through that dry air, it evaporated, unfortunately, so we didn't get the drops that some parts of southern Wisconsin really need. The best chances of those showers have moved to the east of Madison for tonight, and there are some more shower chances as we go into Thursday. Why am I showing the relative humidity? Earlier, it was very low, which supported why we were not getting those showers. Now that relative humidity is increasing, and what this means is that we have a good chance for fog to develop across southern Wisconsin tonight. So just letting you know, could have a wet snowflake, could have a couple raindrops, and some of that dense fog. I'll show you how dense that fog and how low those visibilities could be coming up in Maine weather.
Alex, thank you. The search is stalled for a man who went missing while on the Wisconsin River. Last Thursday, 3 people fell into the river when their boat capsized south of the Kilbourne Dam. The flow rate has continued to be high in the days since, and this has put the search for 20-year-old Francesco Di Filippo, the one remaining missing boater, at a standstill. Wisconsin Dells police chief saying to others thinking of going near the dam to keep safety at top of mind.
Even when it's at its normal flow rate is extremely dangerous. We're really waiting for the water level to drop in the flow rate or the water temperature to rise.
The police department expects the flow rate to drop by early next week, making conditions more favorable to continue the search for Francesco. In the meantime, people going near the river can also help the search by reporting to authorities when they see anything that seems out of place. 3 people are displaced after a fire at a home on Madison's north side. The Madison Fire Department says it happened this morning on Northland Drive. Fire crews were able to find the fire, extinguish it, and get everyone out safely. Firefighters believe it started in the home's kitchen, but the cause remains under investigation and no injuries were reported. A Richland Center woman arrested not once but twice for OWI yesterday alone. The 60-year-old reportedly showed up to a Richland County courtroom Tuesday morning, possibly under the influence. So deputies determined that the woman had driven to the courthouse while under the influence. She was booked into the jail, later released, and then immediately after being released, the woman was allegedly seen getting into the driver's seat of her vehicle and driving off, and was again arrested for OWI along with misdemeanor bail jumping. A pheasant farm in Janesville faces a long road to recovery after being hit by a tornado last year. It was last June the tornado turned McFarland Pheasant Farm on its head. They lost about 44,000 birds and faced major damage to barns and pens, and now the possibility of bird flu. An outbreak may be on the horizon. The farm's president says bird flu is not a new concern, but it is one they're doing everything they can to prevent.
Where people work, disinfectant for their shoes, be aware. We have a biosecurity plan. A lot more involved with doing things to prevent the disease from spreading. It's a huge concern because we have so little control.
According to the Wisconsin Livestock Identification Consortium, this year there's been one reported case of avian flu in poultry. That was in Sheboygan County. The WLIC is currently renewing everyone in their database. If you own livestock or a farm and want to register, you can find out how at our website, channel3000.com. The Department of Homeland Security says it'll start screening the social media of immigrants for anti-Semitism. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services officials will consider anti-Semitic content a negative factor when determining their status or whether to grant a visa. It comes after the State Department ordered all U.S. embassies and consulates to screen the social media activity of certain student visa applicants to see if they indicate support for terrorist organizations. And the Department of International Student Services at the UW says 6 current students and 7 alumni on employment extensions had their visas terminated with no warning or reason. Immigration lawyers say the way the students had their visas revoked is something they've never seen done before in the United States, adding that anyone who got a revocation notice should immediately file for reinstatement, especially if it's due to some type of court case for a minor offense. They'll need a letter indicating charges were dismissed.
They will also need some information from either the school or the employer saying, yes, we want this international student. This revocation that's happening all across the country is arbitrary.
Immigration lawyers also recommend international students and all immigrants keep multiple copies of their paperwork, passport, and visas in different locations. Northwestern and Cornell universities are the latest schools to get hit with massive federal funding cuts. A White House official says the Trump administration is cutting $790 million from Northwestern and more than $1 billion from Cornell. Cuts at other schools have been related to various issues like DEI programs and handling of protests against the war in Gaza. Officials at both universities say they have seen reports of the cuts but have not been officially notified. The Literacy Network in Madison has lost roughly 1/3 of the federal funding that supports its citizenship program. The organization helps people with green cards study for their citizenship tests. And now the network says it has to change the way they help their students. In late March, the Department of Homeland Security said it would no longer provide federal funding for the organization.
It no longer fits the goals and priorities of the Department of Homeland Security. So we, of course, were dismayed, not entirely surprised how quickly they cut the grant and that it was in the middle of classes.
The network is working to object to the funding termination, and despite the setback, they say classes will remain in session. The latest measles outbreak in the U.S. has now topped 600 cases in some 23 states. Hawaii seeing the first case, but most are being reported in the state of Texas. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he's encouraging people to get vaccinated now against measles. A change of heart for Kennedy, who once wrote that measles vaccines are, quote, unnecessary and risky.
What's the position philosophically of the federal government in terms of public health?
The federal government's position, my position is people should get the measles vaccine, but the government should not be mandating
Understand.
Those. You know what I've always said during my campaign and every public statement I've made, I'm not going to take people's vaccines away from them. Right. What I'm going to do is make sure that we have good science so that people can make an informed choice.
CDC data shows there are about 2 deaths for every 1,000 measles cases. So far, 3 deaths have been connected with this outbreak. 2 school-aged children in Texas and an adult in New Mexico. All were unvaccinated. The standard of care could be changing when it comes to treating a child with a concussion. Children's Hospital Los Angeles, one of 6 hospitals nationwide, studying what factors impact quality of life or how to predict how they can predict how long concussion symptoms will last for student athletes. Recent studies show the longer kids stay out of school after a concussion, the harder the recovery. Doctors say giving them a modified workload, extra time to turn in assignments, and light aerobic activity like walking is key.
Those that get back into daily activities and activities of daily living tend to have better outcomes.
He told me you can't limit yourself. You have to go back to your life. You have to build your confidence up again.
Research also shows kids with concussion symptoms lasting longer than 28 days are more likely to have anxiety and depression. The Overture Center preparing to hold its annual blood drive. The event will take place April 22nd, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Residents who enter will have a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Black Violin concert later this month. Appointments are recommended, and a link to schedule can be found on our website, channel3000.com. And get ready to ride your bicycle. Madison's Ride the Drive event set for August 10th now. This year's event will run through 3 parks, Olin, Law, and McPike, connected by more than 2 miles of streets. And during the ride, parts of John Nolan Drive will be closed from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Nearly 200 volunteers will be involved in the ride, including around 100 intersection guides. For more information on how to volunteer or learn more about the event, click on the story linked at channel3000.com. And still ahead tonight at 10, a change in management is made at Reagan National Airport in Washington. Plus, President Trump puts a pause on tariffs, the historic day on Wall Street as the U.S. continues negotiations with China.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
After days of insisting tariffs would not be lifted, President Trump reversed course, prompting Wall Street to respond with yet another historic day. Erica Brown with more from Washington.
Wall Street came roaring back Wednesday, the Dow up more than 2,900 points in its biggest one-day gain since 2008, after President Trump announced a 90-day pause on his reciprocal tariffs for all nations except China. The president said more than 70 countries want to engage in negotiations for trade deals with the U.S.
Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
The president further hiked tariffs on Chinese imports, pushing them to 125% after Beijing raised its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods to 84%. Still, the president insists he believes China wants to reach an agreement with the U.S. While Wall Street responded favorably to the president's latest tariff announcements, some lawmakers remain skeptical about the strategy.
Donald Trump is feeling the heat from Democrats and across America about how bad these tariffs are. He is reeling, he is retreating, and that is a good thing.
The president also signed executive orders Wednesday aimed at restoring business competition and repealing federal regulations that limit household water pressure.
In my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous.
The order says it intends to, quote, make America's showers great again. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
It's unclear what will happen after the 90-day period ends while countries negotiate with the Trump administration. Delta Airlines warning investors that the current trade war is causing turbulence for the company. In its quarterly earnings report, Delta said revenue will likely fall this quarter and that its expected growth has stalled despite the busy summer travel season ahead. Delta says it may only gain 2% in revenue or could even drop by the same amount. With the economic downturn, it'll also impact travelers. Delta says it's now dropping plans to offer more seats to passengers. Federal Aviation Administration has replaced air traffic control managers at Reagan National Airport in D.C. The move comes after January's mid-air collision between a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines regional jet that killed 67 people in a close call between U.S. Air Force jets and a Delta airliner taking off back on March 28th. According to sources familiar with the incident, it appeared to happen when air traffic controllers failed to hold departing flights as planned. A few showers possible overnight. We could even see some snow mixed in. Alex is back with the latest.
Indeed, we could. There are a couple showers out there right now, Eric, and as temperatures fall into the 30s, can't rule out a couple wet snowflakes. We also can't rule out that fog is very likely going to develop tonight, too, and we'll explain why in just a moment. The sun won't come out tomorrow, but it will come out by Friday, and then mild again. We're still promising that warm up as we head towards the weekend. Radar 3000 west to east, Dane County, nothing out there right now. But if you head up towards Juneau and Adams County, north of Boston, east of I-90. Just a couple of showers out there. Can't rule out a wet snowflake as these temperatures are going to be in the 30s for tonight, but not widespread rain or snow expected tonight. Just a hit or miss shower or snow shower is expected throughout the evening going into the wee hours of Thursday morning. When we wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll be graced by Savannah. She'll be back tomorrow morning. A couple of showers out there, maybe a wet snowflake or two mixed in, and that's the mode throughout the day. Just an isolated shower, possibly mixed in with a wet snowflake or two. We're not looking at heavy precipitation with Thursday's potential for water. And then as we head into Thursday evening, partly cloudy skies will start the trend towards clearing skies and that sun coming out on Friday. Again, rainfall amounts not very plentiful. The reason why the rain did not materialize today, we had dry air near the surface. The showers tried to fall into that dry air and it evaporated from much of southern Wisconsin. And unfortunately, not looking at a lot of appreciable water out of this weather system continuing to meander in the area on Thursday. Although we have had some good rains over the course of the past couple of weeks, and of course over the past week we'll have an update with our drought monitor as we go into Thursday. Now we're going to track the fog. As the relative humidity increases across the area, watch the fog spread from Lake Michigan westward as we go through the nighttime. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, we could have some localized dense fog, eighth of a mile, quarter of a mile, possibly even some localized areas down to zero visibility. So you're going to want to pay heed tomorrow morning. That rainfall is that raindrop is a possibility. That snowflake is a possibility. Not high chances, but pretty good chances for dense fog, and you're going to want to slow down. Fog can be very, very tricky. Again, slow down tomorrow morning. That's a heads up. 35 for low in Madison tonight, low to mid 30s. Again, the clouds and the fog helping to hold up those temperatures. Highs on Thursday in the 40s, maybe cracking 50 to the south and west towards the Mississippi River with a chance of an isolated shower. And that shower chance comes back as we go into Sunday, maybe a thunderstorm as well. Farmers Market Saturday looking great, 61 degrees, and it will be warm as well as we go into Sunday out ahead of a cold front that will come through as we go Sunday night going on into Monday. Breezy conditions and staying in the 50s to near 60 degrees. And just heads up again, Eric, southern Wisconsin, the statewide tornado drill is still on for tomorrow. 2 tests at 1:45 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. Although some areas sirens may not sound, make sure you have your phone ready and your NOAA weather radio ready for those alerts tomorrow.
Important to have your plan practiced as we head into this season.
Yeah, hopefully this season won't be as wild as it was last season.
No kidding. All right, Alex, thank you. Zach?
And coming up in sports, the Packers tailgate tour is underway. Why, for the players, this trip is one of the best parts of their year. That's next on News 3 Now. It's always tough being the new guy, but it's magnified when the new guy is also the new quarterback of a team looking to get back to playing Badger football of old after a couple seasons of, well, not so good football. That's what Billy Edwards Jr. is going through during spring ball, getting to know his teammates and coaches while learning and leading a brand new offense. Sounds challenging, and it is, but it's also why he came to Wisconsin.
Everything about this program is tough and hard, and it's intentional, and they do it on purpose, and I love it because, you know, Saturdays are hard. So I think just getting pushed in all aspects, I think that was, like I said, a big reason why I wanted to come here, you know, to really challenge myself, not only as a player on the field, but also as a leader. You know, stepping into a new locker room with this landscape of college football, there's 30-some new guys. You're obviously the quarterback of a new offense coordinator that comes in. There's a lot of, you know, attention and eyes on you, and I think just embracing that.
The Packers' annual tailgate tour made a stop at Garver Feed Mill in Madison tonight. Mark Murphy, along with Tucker Kraft, Lucas Van Ness, Amon Green, Bill Schrader, and others were on hand to sign autographs, pose for pictures, answer questions, and more importantly, say thanks to their fans.
just awesome. We're traveling around the great state of Wisconsin, meeting all the fans and supporters that allow us to do what we do and play the game on Sundays. So it's been nothing short of amazing.
It's very rewarding, and yeah, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's really a chance to spend some great time, and you have such a great appreciation for what a tremendous fan base we have.
Jackson Churio and the Brewers looking to take the series against the Rockies. I know the Masters doesn't start until tomorrow, but that's what you call teeing off. Fifth inning, Churio blasts a 3-run bomb to left, part of a 5 RBI night for him. His hit streak is now at 11 games. Brewers currently up 10-2 in the 9th inning. League One Volleyball unveiled their first ever regular season awards, and Lauren Carlini was listed with the best of the best. The former Badger was named the Setter of the Year, and it was a no-brainer. Carlini led the league with 695 assists. And speaking of former Badgers, on the ice, opening game for the United States in the Women's Worlds, and Hillary Knight made her mark. The captain for the U.S. sends a strike into the back of the net to light the lamp in the second period. The United States beat Finland 7-1. They're back in action on Friday night. We're back after this.
Tonight. Look, I have no idea what Donald Trump is doing with these tariffs. Something apparently I have in common with Donald Trump.
The Late Show's all new. CBS Tonight.
Now, people left some pretty weird stuff behind in Ubers last year. According to the rideshare company's 9th annual Lost and Found Index, the most unique lost items list included a mannequin head with human hair, a Viking drinking horn, a Ghostbusters ghost trap, breast milk was even left behind. And at one point, somebody left 10 live lobsters in an Uber. The top 3 most common items left behind, not surprising, phones, wallets, and keys in that order. And the top food items included an actual order for 175 hamburger sliders. How do you forget that? That'd be kind of a big bag, even if it's slider. The 3 most forgetful cities were probably 3 of the most traveled: New York, Miami, and down the road in Chicago. Alex is back as we take a final look at what's coming our way overnight. It's going to be maybe a rain-snow mix, right?
A little bit of a rain-snow mix. And also, speaking of driving, but on the serious note here, some dense fog too tomorrow morning. That's something you're going to need to pay heed to. Savannah will be back tomorrow morning, tracking that dense fog slowly burning off. So slow down tomorrow. High temperatures will be in the 40s. Then we'll get into the 50s on Friday and 60s for this weekend. Farmers Market is looking pretty good.
We are all ready for a warm-up.
Yeah,
Alex, thanks. Thanks for joining us, folks, for News 3 Now at 10. Have a great night.